Hello and welcome to Speak Free with MattyG, episode 42. We're joined here today by a very special guest, Haddad, who is a sports presenter working on Optus Sport. You're also a podcaster on Born Offside podcast and on Rugby League Guru. You're the Rook.
I am the Rook.
And welcome to the Speak Free studio here at 27 Project.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be talking to you today. And you're right, it was only announced this week that I am the Rook, which is very exciting for me.
Yeah, it's super exciting. Now, I first saw you on here with Falcon last year, before obviously the Women's World Cup. And what a crazy fucking World Cup that was.
I know.
And I talked with Woz on here last year about it. I'm not the biggest soccer fan, but I became a fucking soccer fan during that time, you know.
Good.
And got behind the Tillies. I was actually in Penrith that crazy night when we beat, was it France in the
penalties?
In the penalties. I was watching at ODs and then walking through Penrith afterwards. It was like this electric atmosphere. Just everyone around, you would be like, up the fucking Tillies, and everyone, yeah, you know. It was like the whole country was brought together in that moment. It felt like, you know, an Olympic moment. And was that, obviously you were part of that, you were covering that. Was that special for you?
Oh, absolutely. So it's funny you mentioned me being on this pod with Falcon only weeks before I left for the World Cup.
Yeah.
And we were talking about it. And if I was to go back and look at that interview, I had no idea how big it was going to be. Now, I'm female. I've grown up playing the game. I've seen the evolution of women's football in Australia, but I think I didn't expect to see that level of involvement from Australia at this age.
Yeah.
It's something I thought maybe my children would see. So I think it caught us all a little bit off guard, but in the best way possible. It was truly the best tournament to work on. We're at home. It's our players. The fact that they performed the way that they did, everyone rallied behind them. It was incredible. And it has been described as kind of that Kathy Freeman moment for children this age
100%.
who are, you know, at that 7, 8 years old now, who are going to remember it. And I think, wow, that's unreal. That had that impact on Australia.
And I actually remember on the podcast, you said there was 4 teams that you thought could possibly take it out, and you had Australia in there, right? So in the top 4.
Yeah.
And we did. We finished 4th
Not
overall.
bad.
Not fucking bad at all. And but you saw the talent. You know, you obviously follow football greatly. A lot of people were taken by surprise that don't follow it as closely as you do.
Yeah.
But you knew that this team was special, hey?
I think the skepticism around the team has come from the inconsistency that we'd seen in the lead up to the tournament. But I think what people don't realise is that someone like Tony Gustavsson goes into making the decisions very differently when it comes to the tournament itself. So a lot of the stuff we were doing in the lead up was almost like a trial, right? Like, let's play with different formations. Let's give a few new people a run and see what happens. But ultimately, when it came down to the tournament itself, he played our best 11, minus Sam Kerr, obviously, unfortunately. But
I think that helped them in a way.
I actually think it did as well. I think it's when we started bringing her on that the structure of the team changed a little bit, and I feel like it was almost to our detriment. We'd gotten used to playing without her, and the girls were
lifting,
playing well.
Yeah.
But I've always been I've always felt like they needed some kind of kick, some kind of improvement. But I feel like they were able to just turn it up a notch for the tournament, which was the perfect time to do it.
And obviously playing at home would have a big impact on that as well. You know, you have a huge home ground advantage, you know, because you have 70,000 screaming Australians, you know,
Those
screaming.
stadium. I don't know if you had a chance to attend.
I did actually. I have a funny story about that.
Please tell me.
It was the round of 16 in Sydney. And then, because then it went to Brisbane for the quarters. And I remember we'd got into the round of 16 and I was like, I need to get a ticket. I don't have a ticket. So I'm on the resale site for fucking ages, right? Probably like I spent a good, because that was on a Monday night.
Yeah.
I spent a good probably 3 hours of my Sunday trying to get a ticket. It would come up, I'd get it to my basket, and then I realized it was a child ticket, which you can't buy a child ticket without an adult ticket. So I was like, fuck. And then that happened constantly. And I was like, there's got to be a way. I just wasn't accepting not going.
Yeah,
like,
I love that. You were like, sorry,
I've got to be part of it.
Not an option.
Not a fucking option. And then, so I was like, I'll go on Twitter and I'll just put a tweet out and just see where it goes. You know, I'll hashtag Tilly's, hashtag Matilda's.
Like hashtag everything.
Yeah. And this guy replied and goes, hey, I've actually got a spare ticket.
Yeah.
It's obstructed view, but happy to give it to you. And I was like, thank you so much. Like, tell me how much you want for it. Happy to pay extra. Like, just want to go. He's like, no, don't be silly. I'm giving it to you for free. I don't need it anymore. I end up getting different tickets. I just have this one ticket that I'd got before. And then I end up getting more because I'm going with other people. I was like, are you fucking serious? Like,
meant to be.
I was like, and he's like, yeah, 100%. Just give me your email. So it was like the FIFA app that you like download for the World Cup. And it like straight away came onto my FIFA World Cup ticketing app. And I'm like, holy shit, I'm going to the fucking
angel
game.
vibes.
And I didn't get that message back until like the Monday. So I packed clothes to work, like to change into just in case. And then when I got it, I was like, holy fuck, I'm going to the game.
That's so good.
It was awesome. I was telling everyone around me too. And they're like, that's fucking sick. Like,
No, because that never happened.
it never happened.
It never happened. Like you were meant to be at that game. And tell me, how obstructed was the view, or did you get to enjoy it?
It was actually down really low. So
Yeah.
with soccer, football, it's obstructed view because
It's
of
behind
the
the
stuff.
goalpost.
It's behind the goalpost and you're down like low, right? So I was in like second row, but when you're in a moment, everyone stands up anyway, and your view's not obstructed after that.
No, and I
So-
think also you get to really take in the energy of the stadium from that
Yes.
perspective
'Cause
as well.
and the noise travels down, you know, so it like surrounds you.
Yeah.
And it was a very, very cool moment.
How loud were those stadiums?
Oh, insane.
Like
Insane.
I've been to so many footy games. I've been to all types of stuff. I've been to many Matildas games, and I have never, ever, ever heard the stadium roar the way that it did.
Yeah.
So I basically followed the Matildas journey with my job for the World Cup. And so I went to every single game that they played.
That's
I went to their
amazing.
trainings, everything. It was unbelievable kind of access to the team and the journey. But the highlight for me was Suncorp Stadium, because I'd never been to Suncorp before.
It's an amazing stadium.
And I always thought, oh, Magic Round, I'll go one day, I'll do it because it just looks really cool.
Yeah.
I didn't think that the first time I would go to Suncorp would be for a Matildas game, because you just wouldn't assume that, right?
Yeah.
But here I was, based in Brisbane for the tournament. I went to Suncorp a couple of times, and that stadium would shake, absolutely shake. And I just thought, if it's like, this stadium is unbelievable, but the fact that people are turning up in numbers to support the girls is insane. And I
Yeah.
loved every minute of it.
And that game, that match was so fucking iconic.
Yes.
I saw some of the interviews you did afterwards with the players, and just what a moment in Australian sporting history. You know, the longest ever penalty shootout in a World Cup,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I mean, Penrith is a footy town, right? Like, obviously, there's a lot of soccer players and soccer fans here as well. But just to see ODs completely packed in the outside beer
that's
garden,
amazing.
not a single seat left. Will lucky, there was this table that no one was sitting at because there was an umbrella blocking the screen.
Yeah.
So I just moved the fucking umbrella.
And everyone's like,
We should have just done that. Yeah. So I just sit there. And I'm sitting there, and every moment, you know, every time we got one in or we saved one, everyone gets up, everyone's cheering, you know, and it just drags on and on and on.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, fuck, is this ever going to end? And then when we won, that was
Magic.
the most magic moment, right?
Magic. Yeah, it was unbelievable. And doing the interviews after that,
Yeah.
this is an incredibly difficult period to be professional.
Yes.
Because you just want to
You just
hug
want to be
them
like,
and
fuck
high five.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
we get it. Oh my God. I say we because I felt like I was exhausted.
Yeah.
I was out there on that pitch as well. At least emotionally I was. It's just an unbelievable moment. And then to kind of be able to speak to the girls or even be in their presence right after, the energy's electric. And I mean, I was downstairs in kind of, there's the area where we do the interviews. You have to go down quite a bit before the whistle goes.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm at school apparently.
Yeah.
Before the whistle blows, because you don't know how quickly they're going to come through, and you don't want to miss the opportunity to talk to someone.
Yeah.
You like hand in a list. We want to talk to Sam, Mary, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
You hope that you get access to them, but if they don't want to talk, they don't have to talk. So you've got to be down there. You've got to be ready. And so I had to watch the penalty shootouts from this little media box.
Oh, really?
That was 7 seconds or whatever the
Delayed.
broadcast delay is. I had to...
So you heard the crowd.
I heard the crowd, but I saw it delayed.
Oh,
so I would
shit.
always know when Courtney Vine goes to kick. I hear the stadium roar and then I see her kick and I'm like, well, I know what's happened, but it was the most surreal experience.
Yeah.
And then, of course, they come in sweaty off the pitch into this media room and I'm like, it's a strange reality to be in. But, yeah, it was – I mean, I've got no words. I tend to stumble on my words when I try to explain that experience because it's hard to explain.
Yeah. And Suncorp is such an iconic ground, you know. So many huge moments have happened there, you know, in sport and a lot of them rugby league. So it's very cool that a women's football game sold it out
multiple times
and had probably, I would put that in the top 3 Australian sporting moments of all time.
I think so too. I think to your point as well, the way that it got communities involved and you didn't have to be a football fan before this moment. It was a case of genuinely get on a bandwagon, celebrate with them, gas the girls up because they deserve it, and just get around it.
And I have no problem with bandwagoners when it comes to our national teams.
Same.
Right? If you're watching the Olympics and you never ever watch swimming, but you're watching every swimming event, of course, get behind it,
back them,
you know, back them. I do have a problem with bandwagoners who change football teams and things like that.
I'm big on that too.
Yeah, I think you're an absolute cockhead. And
tell me what you really think. You got to ride the wave as well.
You've got to ride the wave.
You can't change your nation. Some might try to do that. That's fine. But look, we might have descendants from and ancestors from other countries, but ultimately, I'm born in Australia. I'm always going to support the Australian national team in every respect. That can't change.
100%.
And it's okay if you dip in and out of how much you actually follow them, but don't be choosing a different footy team every season. That's just appalling behaviour.
Or like people who are born and bred here and go for Queensland in State of Origin. Can't stand that.
When I was watching State of Origin last year, I was with my 3 girlfriends and one has always openly said, go Queensland. Born and raised in New South Wales. Makes no sense.
Yeah, it makes no sense.
It grinds my gears. Like I actually get...
Do you want to name her on this podcast?
Yeah, Liana.
Hey, Liana.
Liana,
you're a dickhead.
Stop supporting Queensland. What are you doing? Anyway.
Just kidding. All love, Liana.
Yeah, all love. It grinds my gears. And I had a friend up from Melbourne who was watching it with us, Kat Sasso, who is not really a footy fan in any sense. Like I guess, you know, she'll watch with me and that, but like she's from Victoria, so she could pick. And then another friend who's just not a footy fan in general. So it was obviously a great crowd to be with to watch the State of Origin. Yeah. That was sarcastic. But by the end of that third game, all 3 were supporting Queensland. And I wanted to break something.
Yeah.
Like, what's wrong with you?
What's wrong with you, Mum?
Yeah, I take that stuff really personally.
Yeah, so do I. I actually walked out. My mate Jack will vouch for this. Went to watch the game 2. And when we were getting flogged by Queensland, I actually walked out early. And that's the only time I've ever done that. Yeah. But I was just so fed up. I thought, you fucking idiots. Like, what a shit team you've picked. You know? And I must say I'm glad Freddie is gone. Yeah. I'm glad he's gone. He's a nowhere coach.
I agree. I think his time as Blues coach was it expired a while ago.
It did. And I think he got very lucky at the right time while Queensland were in a rebuilding phase when they lost the best of the best. Yeah. He won those 2 years, 18, 19, and still didn't win them convincing. Like in 19, it was
it was always like in contention for sure.
Yeah. And I just think after that, I don't know, we just got comfortable. Oh, yeah, we've got, you know, and we do have the better team on paper, 100%. What we're missing is attitude.
We don't have that mongrel that the Queenslanders have.
100%. Like, you go up there to Queensland and you will not see a fucking Blues jersey for sale. What do you do when you go to Penrith Rebel Sport at Origin time? Out the front, Blues here, Queensland here. Fuck that off.
Yeah. What is that about?
What's that? You're in fucking New South Wales. Rebel
Make
Sport.
it harder for people to support Queensland.
100%.
What's that about?
Yeah, we get it. Queenslanders love to move here, right? Because Sydney is where you make money. Okay? No one's making money in Brisbane. No. But don't fucking give them the right. They can buy it online from a Brisbane store and get it sent down.
I completely agree with that.
You know, I hate seeing it when you're out in public. You're like, fuck that off. Like,
I know. No, I agree with you. I think Freddie's time was up. and I'm excited about this next gen of
So am
State
I.
of Origin.
And Madge is a fucking good coach, right?
Yeah, I know you'd love him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do love him. I loved him at Tigers up until...
I was going to say, like, I'm sure that relationship got a little difficult at times as well.
I was happy, but even so, I think the problem always was the board and the CEO. And I'm very, very happy they're gone.
Yeah.
I celebrated that day.
Yeah.
That was the best day ever.
As you should. I think it was a weight off many Tigers fans.
Well, you know,
shoulders.
it was the biggest sign up for memberships ever the day following that announcement.
No way.
Yeah, we're at 22,000 now members for the year. So
I mean, that says a lot, doesn't it?
yeah, and that's what we're all waiting. And actually, the petition was started by a member who runs the West Tigers podcast, and it was members and fans who signed that petition to get the look in for the external review, and it came back that we should sack the whole board, and then Justin Pascoe resigned.
Wow.
And Shane Richardson is a very fucking good CEO. He won the comp with Penrith in 03, won the comp with your Bunnies, and he's got a very good lot of connections. He owns Rich Digital, which has GI on the books and Kennedy Charrington and all these massive names. And I think I'm really excited about the Tigers' future.
Yeah, I'm excited for you guys too. I think there's a lot of the squad. I look at them; it's very exciting. We all know it's the youngest squad in the competition, but at the same time, there's so much potential on that side. And then you've got the likes of Jerome Luai, who's only a season away.
So excited.
And you've got this season, I think, granted, I don't think you'll win this season.
No, me neither.
Cool. I just wanted to check out what level of Delulu we are. Do want to offend you. But I think you're on the right path 100%. And the conversations that you have, with the likes of Rugby League Guru and all these expert mates, they all speak really positively about the trajectory that they're on. So I think it's a really
that's
good
to
sign.
know, because sometimes I do think, am I just a delusional cunt? But
I can promise you, if you clip this up and posted it, you would get Tigers fans saying, actually, we're winning the comp. So don't worry. I think it's just it's a Tigers thing.
Yeah. But you know what? The supporters have been good. It hasn't been it hasn't been an easy team to follow.
Not at all.
And last year, for instance, I've got a mate in Townsville, and I flew up there. I actually met him at Magic Round last year, and then flew up like 2 months later to see him.
I love that.
To go watch the Cowboys Tigers game, which we got flogged fucking 74 to 12.
Oh my God, I remember that.
No, 76-0, I think it was.
We didn't score a single try. That was like the worst scoreline ever.
Yeah. We had our biggest win and our biggest loss
back to back
in the same year against
was
the
it
same
not?
team.
No. But the games were relatively close together
close.
though.
Yeah, not
to
far.
the point where like people were very confused.
Yeah. Was like, how did it go all wrong?
Yeah.
But
I remember that. My dad was a Tigers supporter for a week when you guys won.
Yeah.
And then he was off the bandwagon again. Yeah. I told you before, my dad, when he moved to Australia, when he was super young when he came from Lebanon, but Tigers was the team that he chose to support.
And a good team for a Lebanese guy.
I think so.
There's a lot of,
some good representation.
100%.
Although I would like to say that I think there's some nice Lebanese representation across the board now, more or less.
There is.
Probably a few teams where you won't find one, but
there is. But back in the day, we had, Farah.
Yeah.
The Lebanese king.
Farah is like the Lebanese guy, the rugby league Lebanese guy. Everybody knows him.
Yeah.
But it's definitely been a tough time for people like my dad. So I see it.
Yeah. It hasn't been easy. I spent $490 on those Townsville flights. And I saw Toddy Payton on the streets of Townsville afterwards, after they flogged us, and came out of the Mad Cow. And I go, Toddy, I flew all the way from Sydney for this shit. And he just looks at me and goes, you poor cunt. And then keeps walking.
That's how you know that they're like in shambles.
Yeah. But it's funny because I was giving Toddy heaps of shit when he was coming out and jumping back on the bus after the Leichhardt game.
Yeah.
I was like, see, Toddy should have never left us, mate.
So he knows you then.
Well, he probably, I don't know if he would remember me or not, but yeah.
I'm telling you now, he remembers you. Yeah. If those are the conversations you're having,
he's like, yeah, that's that motherfucker. Yeah.
Oh, not him again. That's cool.
But no, it was a good experience still. Townsville Stadium's awesome.
Really cool. I went.
You went
the
there?
first time and only time I've been was for a Matildas game. Funnily enough.
Yeah.
They played USA, I believe.
Okay, yeah.
It was one of the kind of pre-World
Friendly.
Cup games. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
a friendly. Yeah, it was 3 years ago, but it was a
Yeah.
great experience. I really, really liked
It's
Townsville.
done so well, that stadium. I love how it's open on one end because it's so hot there. So you get that beautiful breeze that comes in.
It's so smart how they have that one section that's down
Yeah.
just to allow all the fresh air. It's really nice.
And they have a beautiful beer garden outside too, which is like, it's cool. It's cool to see it like a stadium. You know what I mean? Usually you have to go to like a pub before a stadium.
And
Like, you can go in there and,
Townsville's
like,
got that
it's that
small
chill-
town vibe, but it's
Yeah.
obviously more than a small town, but it feels very relaxed.
Yes.
The stadium matches the vibe.
It does.
Yeah.
It does. 100%. And it's in a good spot. Very easy to get to.
So easy. I'm
Yeah.
like, oh my God. I hate that South Sydney's home ground is out in Homebush.
Yeah.
I don't live far from there, so that's not the issue. I just find that whole experience of going out there not enjoyable.
A nightmare. You know where is a good place to park? Oh, I don't really want to say this on the podcast because I don't want.
I
people
do
to
have a
fucking park
parking
there.
spot. I wonder if it's the same. Should we discuss after?
We'll discuss
All
after.
right. And you can leave it in the comments.
Because
what you
sometimes it's
think.
fucking hard to get a park, and I'm not giving my fucking parking spot away.
Honestly, same.
Yeah.
I've shown a couple of friends, and like I think I've like that's it. Like no
Yeah.
more because it's getting full.
Yeah.
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 We're not.
It actually is getting
Yeah,
full.
yeah, yeah.
I think we are
being
talking about the same spot.
I'm being cagey about it.
I think we are talking about the same spot because the last few events I've gone there, it's like there's more motherfuckers parking
Yeah,
here
what's
now.
going on here?
Yeah.
I wonder if it is. All right, we'll discuss.
Yeah, we'll
after.
discuss it after.
It's private.
So Optus Sport,
Mm-hmm.
how did you get that gig? Like, was it just a simple like apply and that, or
Yeah.
did they headhunt you, or
Yeah.
what was it?
It's such a good question because the journey started so long ago. I always aspired to work in football, in sport, in a presenting capacity, but I didn't take a conventional route by any means. And I think these days you don't have to take a conventional route. That's
100%.
the beauty of access to technology and things like this and
Yes.
phones, the ability to create content at any time. And so to give you a really quick rundown, I worked in a few different kind of media jobs. And I was working at Nova, the radio station, in more of a sales role.
Right, yeah.
I was like 22, 23, and I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, I want to work in sport. I want to work in football. And I made a connection to Jules Breach, who is an English presenter. She works on BT Sport and does a lot of different stuff
Yeah.
in the football space. She's unbelievable. Made a connection to her through a mutual friend. She said, hey, if this is what you want to do, you need to meet someone who's doing it in Australia. And she recommended Rich Bayless at Optus Sport. So she connected us by email. This was 2018, 19, like end of the year.
Yeah.
And I emailed him and I said, hey, I really want to meet you. This is what I want to do. I just don't quite know how to start, but I want to know what you guys want to see from me to take me seriously in this kind of space. So I went into Optus Sport May or June of 2019, met the team, met him. He gave me some advice on things I could do. And then the following month, I moved to Spain for a year to live. And I pursued all those things that he told me to do when I was over there. So I started writing about football. I started documenting these experiences for the first time, going to Anfield, going to Camp Nou.
I actually read your blog post
Oh, wow.
on going to Anfield.
That's
Yeah.
so cool.
Yeah.
I'm glad that you've read it. Thank you for doing that.
It was very cool. It was very cool because I actually, sorry to cut you off.
No.
But I actually I'm planning an American trip next year and I really want to go to Baltimore to M&T Bank Stadium to watch a Ravens game.
And you have to document the whole experience.
And I was like, how you summed it up with like how you felt you've never gone there before, but you felt like you were part of that community already.
Yes.
And then when you got there, it's like, it's exactly how you
thought
it would be, you know?
I felt so familiar to me. Because
Yes.
you've seen so much of it on TV. The beauty of, once again, Instagram and stuff. You just feel like a part of things.
Yeah.
Like you feel like you could walk into the training ground and like know where things are.
Yeah.
Because you
Yeah.
see so much of it. But I just took Rich's advice when I was in Spain and I put the energy into creating a blog and kind of documenting all of that. And so the journey with Optus Sport essentially started back then, but it wasn't a job by any means. It was just a connection. And this is why I say to people all the time, if you know you want to do something, just reach out, ask for help, tell them that's what you want to do. Don't feel like you don't have enough in that moment. Do you know what I mean? Like I think if I had thought I don't have enough examples of me presenting or whatever to even reach out, like that's ridiculous. Like if you want to do it, just try, reach out. Anyway, so that happened. And then in a funny turn of events, about 2 years later, I'm back in Australia post living overseas, went through a bit of an identity crisis, existential, you could even call it. And I think a lot of people did after COVID and everything like that. So I was working in podcasting, had my own podcast. I started telling football stories and stuff like that. And then that evolved into Born Offside. But it was through Born Offside and that football podcast that Optus Sport noticed me. And it was a different team at that point. Rich had left. And someone reached out and said, hey, we've got this event in New Zealand for the Women's World Cup. We'd love for you to cover it for us. And I was like, wait, what?
That's
the same
awesome.
company that almost 4 years ago I was begging to do something with was now asking me to do something for them. And so I went and I did that trip, and then that trip kind of evolved into doing more work with them. And so I'm contracted. I'm not a full-time employee there because I love the ability to kind of go do a Rugby League Guru gig and do different things because my interests are not only solely football, but that is the pinnacle of football in Australia. So to do anything with them was just amazing. But that's kind of how it happened. It was very much a case of I'll just introduce myself and see what happens. And then, 3 years later, they've asked me to do my first job with them, and then that evolved into doing more. But it was kind of because I just did all the things he told me to do and then more.
Yeah.
And I just said, it doesn't matter how long it takes. It's not going to happen straight away. But as long as I keep it churning in the back of my mind and do something every week that is a step closer to where I want to be, then I'm in the right place.
And that's a good way to live life. Like if you're, that's the thing people, I think today's day and age with TikTok and with everything happen instantaneously.
Yeah, everybody
right?
wants
it's like
to go
instant
viral,
gratification.
Right? Yeah.
People they think that, if it doesn't happen immediately, it's not going to happen at all. No, like you just got to chip away.
Yeah.
Chip away. I know this podcast is going to be a big fucking podcast one day because I believe it, right?
And I believe it too. It's how you carry yourself. It's the belief that you have.
And you got to be consistent and you got to work hard 100%. But if you have that self-belief and you're doing the right things and you're on the straight and narrow and you're actually working towards it, rather than just saying you're going to do something, then it's going to pay off 100%.
I'm such a stickler for just starting.
Yeah.
I think I granted I started later than I would have liked to. I kind of wish that the things that I started doing in terms of writing and producing a podcast and things like that, I wish I had done those 3 or 4 years before so that at this age I would be more, ahead of the game of where I am right now. But at the same time, like you are where you're meant to be. And
exactly.
I think also I was the right age for those things. I had a level of confidence that I wouldn't have had when I was younger and experience in the workplace and kind of knowing what you want and how to get it. But I think you just have to start, and perfectionism is a great thing, but it will also prevent you from getting things going because this strive for perfection, it comes at a detriment of literally getting things going because you're so worried that you're not doing everything perfectly. Yeah. You don't have to. You don't have to do everything 100%. Perfectly.
And you'll get better each time.
Yeah.
Like my podcast today compared to when it first started is it's like night and day. And
I have seen the difference. I saw your earlier stuff and then things that you're doing now. And that's amazing because you're it's almost like that feedback on yourself is so important too. Making decisions that lead you closer to what you visualize in your mind and where you see yourself.
Yes.
You just take steps to achieve that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny because when Nick first told me about that he was going to do this at 27 Project, this is actually pretty close to what I had in my mind.
Wow.
When you think you envision stuff, it's like when you're reading a book and you're envisioning the words on the page. It's like what I kind of envisioned. When I first came in here, I was like, holy shit. I think he sent me a video before I'd actually come in here. And I was like, holy fuck, this is pretty spot on for what I wanted. I knew I wanted a screen.
Yeah.
I knew I wanted a long table.
Yeah.
And very Joe Rogan-like. I feel like it is very Joe Rogan-like in here.
But I love that. You've taken inspiration from someone.
Yeah.
I spoke about this the other day, actually. I think sometimes people are scared of not copying other people, but take inspiration and make 100%. It yours. Don't feel like a certain idea belongs to someone, it doesn't. Like if you can see yourself in a similar setting,
Yes.
doing your thing, do it.
Yeah.
And
100%.
that'll actually speed up the process for you because you spend less time going, how can I be so different to everyone else? You don't have to be different.
Yeah.
You just have to be consistent.
Yeah.
You have to produce it with quality. It's that
Exactly.
kind of thing.
And if you're authentic to yourself, and that's the thing, there may be similarities between you and another person, right? People compare you to other presenters all the time, right? And there may be similarities, but if you're being authentically you, then who gives a fuck if there's similarities?
100%.
Okay, similarities exist. It doesn't mean it's a bad thing.
Not at all. And I think you just have to know that you bring something to the table. And I think like getting into the football industry and to sport in general, as a female, I don't want to sit here and play victim that it's difficult. I've actually had a really amazing experience where I've met people that have empowered me. They've always given me the time of day. I think we're in a really good time where we can, as females, achieve whatever we want. You just got to work for it.
Yeah.
Nothing's handed to anyone, but definitely, you know, I was very lucky to meet the people that I met along the way, but it's authenticity, like you said. It's kind of knowing where you want to be and just being the best version of yourself when you meet people, because relationships and connections are genuinely the key to everything.
100%.
Because people remember how you made them feel.
And that's 100%. And that's what I have always said. Success is as much about talent as it is about personality, right? Mm-hmm. If you have all the talent in the world and a fucking terrible personality, you're going to get nowhere, right? No one wants to work with you. No one remembers you, or they try not to remember you. You know, if you come across like, I've been lucky. I've never had anyone come in here that I've thought, oh, you're a dick, everyone has been great. But I think that's because when you're authentic to someone too, they give it back to you in that way.
Yeah.
No, very, very cool. It's cool. It's cool that what you've done, what you've achieved, especially this past year, it's been massive for you.
The last 12 months were unbelievable, truly. And I think once again, it's a lot about connection, but it's also right place, right time.
Yeah.
If you believe in that, I think I just feel like I'm very blessed and I'm very grateful for the experiences that I've had. But it was the perfect time to kind of enter the industry because we had a Men's World Cup where obviously we had Australian broadcasters covering that, and then we had a Women's World Cup.
Yeah.
Optus Sport were the ones owning that, obviously Channel 7 as well, but Optus Sport really owned that event. They had all 64 games. They covered everything.
Yeah.
So it was the right place to be when that all kicked off. And so I'm so grateful of the timing of everything. It was the best 12 months ever. So busy.
Yeah.
So busy. I think I had like an exhaustion hangover for a solid 6 weeks after that last game.
Don't you feel so good when you're so busy, but
yeah, I love it.
I love being like this past week. I've been like, holy fuck, I'm the busiest I've probably ever been. Like getting ready for this. I've got my own business as well, photography business. Amazing. And plus I work full time. So I was like juggling all that. And then I started my 12-week program with Jim.
Oh yeah, we were talking about this.
Yeah, so I've been like getting up at 4:40 in the morning, heading straight to the gym. Like I have brekkie, head to the gym, then have a shower, go to work. And then when I come home, I'm like editing work from like my business. And then, it's just so much.
Nice. Yeah, busy is good. I like being busy
good.
too.
I feel good at the end of the day. You know, when you go to sleep, you're like, okay, I achieved everything that was on my to-do list. Like I did it all. Fuck yeah, now we can sleep.
It's purpose.
Yeah.
It's purpose. And because your purpose, I think, doesn't just have to be your 9 to 5 or whatever pays the bills.
Yeah.
I think it's nice to have a job that funds your purpose.
Yes.
And your purpose could be all the content creation and the stuff that you're doing outside of that.
Yeah.
It's a really nice place to be where you're enjoying the process and you're enjoying the journey and you're not thinking, I can't wait till this date, or I can't wait till I look like this, or I can't wait till I'm doing this. Like you're actually enjoying the everyday.
100%. And that's where I've got to in my life now. I put up a gratitude quote the other day that was like, gratitude does not come from happiness. Happiness comes from gratitude. And it's like when you are actually grateful for even the shit parts, like, oh fuck, I got to get this done. I'm going to have no time. It's like, okay, but this is the grind. This is the hustle. This is the fun. Like this is the time you work hard to get where you want to be.
Amen.
And when you enjoy
that,
it,
that quote is beautiful. I often catch myself saying, I've got to do something, to saying, I can do something, or I've got the opportunity to do something.
Yeah.
The things that to me are, the stuff I'm putting off or procrastinating are a blessing to other people. Do you know what I mean? They would love to have to do those things.
Yes.
So it's just switching the mentality and saying,
Exactly.
no, I get to do these things.
Yes, that's right. And exactly. And busy is good. The grind is good. It means you're doing something, right? It means you're fucking doing something.
Yeah.
And like you said, purpose. It's so important because you'll find majority of people who are struggling mentally in that are lacking a purpose.
Yeah.
That's usually what the root of it is.
Yeah.
They're lacking a purpose and they've got themselves in a headspace where they can't find their purpose. So my advice to people like that would be just get out there, just do something.
Yeah,
Whatever
I
it
agree.
is, just something. If it's, okay, my purpose, I'm a little bit overweight. I'm just going to go for a walk every morning for half an hour to an hour, right? That's a fucking purpose. It's
Yeah.
a good way to start your day.
Yeah.
And it'll get you in a good mindset.
Yeah.
I
I
went
agree.
gym before these podcasts today.
That's so good.
Yeah, and I feel fucking amazing, you know?
I think we were talking about being busy. I think being busy is also a portion of your time you really need to dedicate to yourself and to your health. And that's something that I'm a huge believer in. I've always been active, and it's times where I've been super busy and not put the effort into exercising or
Yes.
whatever it might be to make me feel better.
Yes.
It's taken a toll on the work and the quality of the work that I can produce. I think when you're putting in the effort to look after your body and do those things as well, that's a purpose in and out of the work
Yes.
that you do. But that stuff, you reap reward in everything that you do when you feel good.
Yes, 100%. And your work is better as well. Like it's and it's easier. It's actually easier to manage how busy you are if you add like an extra thing on for yourself, right? Whether it be
For
gym
sure.
or whatever it may be. Go, eat healthy, go out, have a nice meal or whatever
Yeah.
it may be. Just
Yeah.
like if you're doing that while being busy, it makes being busy easier.
Yes.
For me, it does anyway.
Yes, I
Yeah.
agree. I think it's funny though, the concept of being busy for me, it's like I'm slow. Maybe as I get slightly older, I drift further away from the desire to be busy all the time.
Yeah.
I like to have lots of things going on. I like to have projects to work on and things like that. But I think having those moments for yourself throughout the week, or where you can devote them to your family, your friends.
Yes.
I've got a dog. Like, I have to walk him multiple times a day. And if
Yeah.
I'm too busy, I can't do that. And it's such a simple task, but it's these things you have to think of in and out of your work. And I think that stuff's also really, really important. And I will die on the hill of saying that you don't have to be exerting yourself like crazy to be successful. I think you work smarter, not harder. And it's investing time in the things that you know are going to take you places.
Yes.
As opposed to just trying to do everything.
Everything. Yeah. Be particular about it.
Yes.
Is and if you're finding, especially if it's your passion, and you're doing stuff, it may not be like the be all and end all of what that passion could reach.
But it also doesn't
But it's a
necessarily
step.
feel like work.
Yes.
When you love what you're doing.
100%.
And so that's a whole different thing in itself.
Yeah. When I
Yeah.
come home and I'm editing photos and that, I'm loving creating. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's like,
Doesn't
wow.
feel like work,
Doesn't
right?
feel like work. And then you're sending some off to the client, or like, you know, if it's for a friend, you're sending it to your friend as you do it. It's like, fuck, man, these photos are sick. You know?
Yeah,
Like,
no, for sure. When I was working full time in podcasting, and then Born Offside was starting, Born Offside was my escape from work.
Yes.
It was, I get to go and talk about football for a couple of hours. I get to hang out with people I really like. And then I'm building a community around that as well. So like the socials are kind of growing a little bit, and you're getting to know people that work in this space and content create. And then kind of enough work came in that I was able to quit my full-time job and devote my time to talking about football and doing these things. And when I say that, I have to sometimes reflect on where I was and where I am now. I'm incredibly grateful because I'm now doing for my job the things that were my escape from work.
Yes.
So that in
That's so
itself
cool.
is just so crazy. And granted, it's not always going to be like that. I think it's normal for work and life to go up and down.
Yeah.
And I'm always anticipating as a freelancer a period where I might need to go find more work or whatever. And I think like you need to be like that in life. You've got to not necessarily prepare for the worst, but
adapt.
Be adaptable for sure. But I'm so grateful that that's my reality now. And like, that's a great purpose to have.
A lot of people, and you know what? And a lot of people strive for that and don't ever reach it. And yeah, if you can look at that and feel blessed, then that's fucking awesome.
Yeah, incredibly blessed.
Now let's talk Rugby League Guru.
Let's talk about it. Speaking of things that don't feel like work.
Yeah, I bet. That would be so fun.
Yeah. So right? I'm there. I mean, obviously the season's going to kick off in a couple of weeks, but I had my own preseason training with him. So for context, I've known Nathan for maybe 3 years.
Okay, yeah.
I used to, when I worked in podcasting, I actually looked after him from a creative perspective. So the company I was working for, we looked after his sponsorships and stuff like that. And I used to be the person he'd call when he would receive a brief and he goes, what does this mean? And I'd be like, okay, let me break it down for you. And then we'd talk a bit of footy and whatever. So we built like a really nice friendship around that. And then when I went freelance and obviously football, there was so much of it last year, but this year's not like last year. So there's space to kind of go into that league space now.
Yeah.
And we worked out that this was a great year for me to jump on board with him and start doing the things that I was doing on football with him instead on footy. So yeah, that's how we kind of like got here. But then they announced me last week as the Rook, which is good fun. So
it's
never
awesome.
played Supercoach. Played fantasy.
Yeah.
But
I'm the same actually.
Yeah.
Supercoach.
So you're starting this year?
Well, I don't know. I feel too busy.
It's a bit overwhelming.
Maybe I will. Do you have a league I can join? Is there space?
Yeah. I mean, there's the Beers and Break-Evens league by all means, guys.
Yeah. I might. We'll see how we go. You know what my toxic trait is with fantasy? I've never played Supercoach, but with fantasy, I've always like got a solid team. I'll wait like a few weeks and then I'll just lose interest and then it just becomes like
so normal though.
Yeah,
This
I'll
is
just be
so
like,
normal.
I can't be fucked to dedicate like an hour of my time like sorting out moving injured players and buying new players and swapping them out. I'm like, fuck, it's just too hard.
Do you know what? And that's why I'm kind of hoping that it being a job now, I will just that won't happen.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
you'll like obsess
I
over
have
it.
to. That's the thing. But I am either completely obsessed and it is another job where you ask anyone close to me, that app is open more than any other. I had my first season of NRL fantasy was 2020, I think. Sorry, 2021. So I've not played for that many years, but 2021 was my first season. And I went and looked at, you know, how you can see how long you've been on your phone and then it breaks down apps wise. It was my most used app.
Really?
More than Instagram, more than
hell.
like more than anything. And I'm like, that's a problem.
That's hilarious.
That is a problem. But I also won that year. I won in my rookie year. So it does take a bit of dedication, but guys, you can do it. If you want to do it, you can do it. But I'm kind of hoping that I can channel the same energy
I hope so.
into Supercoach.
I'm rooting for you. 100%.
Thank you so much for rooting for the Rook.
Yeah.
It's so
now,
good though.
you're a South Sydney fan.
I am.
I don't have much hate towards that. It's not like I'm a Roosters fan.
I feel like a lot of people, if you're not a Roosters supporter, you're just pretty neutral about bunnies.
I'm pretty neutral, except when we verse you. I fucking hate you.
Which is so fair.
Yeah, but that's every team, right?
Yeah. I mean, you would hate every team when they're versing you.
Yeah, thanks for that.
Sorry about that.
Except Dolphins. They've never beat us.
Well, there you go.
We beat them last year.
There you go.
And a lot of people I know jump ship to the Dolphins as well. So suck shit. They're like,
I mean,
yeah,
they
you still got the wooden spoon, but yeah, whatever, mate.
Yeah.
You know.
I love how you had your own comeback.
Yeah.
You're like, I'll catch you there.
Okay. But how do you think bunnies are going to go this year?
I feel really, really good about bunnies this year. I don't think that we're a premiership winning side just yet, but I think, I mean, obviously I'm devastated about Campbell Graham, that announcement. When I walked into Guru's studio on on Wednesday morning, no, on Tuesday morning. My goodness, we've really worked backwards. Walked in on Tuesday morning and Guru goes, he's like on his phone. He goes, Kat, there's a word out there that Campbell Graham might be injured and he's like out for what could be the whole season. And I'm like, that's, first of all, good morning. Like, why would you say that to me first thing in the morning? But we kind of sat on the news for a while waiting for updates, and Guru's connected to different people and he's waiting to hear if this is legitimate or not. There's word that it's not legit. So we're feeling good about it. And then we come in the next day to film Beers and Break-Evens.
Yeah.
Still not confirmed at that point. But we did actually bring up that we had heard this news and we weren't sure what was going to happen. Then the next day it comes out, officially Campbell Graham out for 6 months. Devastating. Absolutely devastating. But I think it's an opportunity for the likes of obviously Tass, Munro. I think we've got this young talent coming through now. I'm really excited about.
Yeah. Sometimes it can be the best thing for a team.
Right.
Sometimes it can.
Yeah. But I think we look good, and I love that Latrell and Jack Whiten have the biggest bromance now in NRL.
It's going to help 100%. Like, especially in those positions, you know, like they'll be linking up for sure.
Yeah.
And Latrell's looking better.
Latrell looks great. I actually bumped into him last Saturday and he looks super fit. He looks amazing. And then when you look at all of the content that's coming out of training and stuff, like he's in such good form. So I feel really, really, really positive about where they're going. And I think I was a little skeptical of Demetriou as well as a coach. Like, I didn't quite know how I felt about him, especially after last season. It just felt, it was a disappointing season. And I think any Bunnies fan would agree with that, considering how we started as well.
Started so well.
I felt really good, and then boom. Like,
quite a few injuries though as well.
Yes, which happens, and that's just a part of it. But I think it looks like we're going somewhere good with this side.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they'll go well. They'll definitely make the 8 this year, I feel.
Yeah.
You know, it was a shame they missed out. Do you think the Tigers could make the 8 this year? Like, realistically?
Realistically, I don't think that they're like the worst team on paper or anything like that. I don't think that they're a wooden spoon team this season, but I don't think that they're a top 8
contender, yeah.
No. I think they can sit between that, like 9 and 12 maybe.
Yeah. I'd be happy with that.
Yeah.
I'd be happy.
I mean, it's an improvement.
That would mean some more wins to celebrate throughout the year.
Who do you think are the wooden spooners?
St. George.
I completely agree with you.
Yeah, they've just got nothing, and they don't seem to have a future. It's funny because I kind of put them with us in that aspect until we sacked our board. And I thought, fucking yes, finally we have a future now. We have a plan. We've got Shane Richardson in. We've got Benji taking over as head coach.
Yeah, there's vision there.
There's vision, exactly.
And it goes back to what you said earlier. It's taking steps to build a team or to build something.
Yes.
You're seeing that with Tigers. You're seeing that with Bulldogs. I think Bulldogs have done a lot. Dragons, you're not seeing much of that.
You're not seeing that at all. And with the Tigers, it's like they'd said that, you know, we're rebuilding for years and years now.
Yeah.
And it's like, but they never did anything. It was always about more about financial building, I think, which they took off as, you know, oh yeah, well, we're building as a team. Okay, you've got a center of excellence now. Fucking great facility, right? Brilliant facility. But what's the point of it if you're not doing anything to the roster?
Right.
To fucking build an actual, and you're giving away our juniors.
Same players aren't going to walk through the center of excellence and all of a sudden be completely different players.
Exactly.
Like there's like some machine where they walk through. And
yes. And I'm a big believer in that it rots from the head, you know?
Yes.
And I think that trickles all the way down to your team that runs out on the field, to your juniors, to your pathways programs.
I agree.
If there's not a winner's mentality in that fucking office, then you're not going to get a winner's mentality on the field. Yeah. And I think now with the changes that have been made, I'm very excited. And
I think there's some people changes within the team as well.
Yeah.
Some player changes that were necessary.
100%.
I think you
all love to Luke Brooks, but it was time to go.
Yeah, and I'm excited to see what he does at Manly.
I'm not.
You're not?
No.
In that you don't like Luke Brooks, or that
not that I don't like him. He actually drove me home from the city one night.
Oh wow.
Well, the next morning, my friend stayed at his house. Female friend stayed at his house.
Yeah, fair.
Anyway, picked us up, drove us back. This is ages ago.
Yeah.
Ages ago. I think Luke's married now with a kid. So I don't want to say anything.
No.
Long time ago. Anyway, but every time we'd seen each other since then, he had remembered me and by name, you know, and so I thought, we built this, you know, pretty cool like little relationship here. You know, every time I see you at a game or whatever, you know, I'm a fan, you're a player, you know, but it was cool. It was like a cool moment. And then afterwards, after he had announced he's going to Manly, I sent him a message. I said, like, congratulations, I'm happy for you going Manly. Just wanted to reach out, let you know that, you know, the podcast is open anytime you want to come in. Would love to have you on for a chat. You know, now with the pressure off your back, you know. And just read it and didn't reply. And I was like, you're a...
Now, I get that can be something that makes you think differently of the player, but I think rugby league in particular, a lot of rugby league players, they don't receive heavy media training. And if they do, they're all taught to sound the same.
Yeah.
There is a real fear of media of all kinds. And the fact that anything that they say can be taken out of context.
Yeah. I didn't take it too personally, but I would have liked a response.
Oh, of course.
You know what I mean?
That's the bare minimum,
That's
right?
That's what I was
That's
more
just
pissed
being
off
nice.
at. I could not care less if someone says no, but
Yeah.
at least tell me, you know, like,
fair.
And I just thought, you know, I sat in the car with you for an hour and a half, motherfucker. You drove me home.
Yeah, that's a bit weird, isn't it?
Yeah. I've never told that story. I don't think I've ever told that story on the podcast,
Wow.
by the way. So,
Exclusive.
exclusive.
No, it's...
Hope I don't get him in trouble with his missus, but you know what? It's not a Tigers problem anymore. It's a
No.
Manly problem. So,
But
fuck
also
'em.
this was before he was married, so it's fine.
Yeah, way before. He was
Yeah,
single.
Yeah.
I think he was living with Teddy and Moses at the time.
Yeah, I live in the same area as, Mitch Moses lives in the next suburb. Luke Brooks lives in the other next suburb. I don't know if he's moved Manly way, but I doubt it because it doesn't take that long to get there.
Yeah.
I see him driving around in his ute all the time.
Oh, what's he drive now?
I think I saw him in a Hilux.
Okay.
But it might have been a different ute. I'm not a ute specialist.
Fair enough.
If that's a thing. But I went to high school kind of in the same period of time, similar area. So I always knew who Mitch and Luke and Teddy were.
Yeah.
So it was really funny to see them all kind of emerge at the exact same time, and then obviously through the Tigers system as well, which was really interesting.
And it would have been lovely to see them all stay together.
Yeah, I agree.
And build something. But
I mean, look at what Teddy's done. And to be fair, Mitch Moses at Para they need him, and he's done an amazing job.
And Luke was the one that stayed. And you know what? I always have love for Luke for that. But it was time for him to go.
Yeah.
It's time for him to try and do something.
How do you think he's going to perform at Manly?
I think he'll do okay.
Yeah.
I think he will. I think without the pressure now, it did get to him. It definitely got to him. He deleted his social media
How could it
accounts and
not?
that. And you know what? It is hard, but I don't like when it's said that, you know, Tigers fans treated him like shit, because at the end of the day, Tigers fans have stuck by their club and not seen finals in 12 years now.
Yeah.
It's a long time without
Yeah.
finals, the longest in
Yeah.
NRL history.
Yeah.
Right?
Look, and the reality too is he plays a very crucial position in a side that was struggling.
Yeah.
There's
gotta be a
always
leader.
going to be a scapegoat as well.
Yeah.
It's the same way. There's so many players on each side that are kind of the ones who are at fault when they're not performing well.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And he was that guy for
Yeah.
Tigers, unfortunately. But once again, it came down to him being the age that he is, the position that he plays, and the potential to be a leader.
And the
on that
money
side.
he's on.
Right.
And the money he's on.
Yeah, they've really invested in him.
Yeah. And stuck by him. He stuck by us too. There was a loyalty there, right?
Yeah.
But, you know, in saying that, you know, when the team's going well, they loved him.
Yeah.
They loved him.
Yeah.
But that's football,
That
right?
is football. It is the nature of the sport.
It is. You got to go well to have your team, your fans love you,
Yeah.
right? And at the end of the day, you're a professional football player. That's job is to win.
Yeah. I completely agree with you, but I am also such a stickler for like the mental health side of
100%.
sport. And I always wonder, because I have friends that play professionally who have received hate or whatever. And I've received hate for stuff that I've done, and I'm not high profile by any means. I'm like, if you even know who I am, like, good job. Like, how'd you find out about me? But receiving hate is like something that, as strong as you think you are, as confident as you are, you know what you bring to the table, it will still resonate with you in the worst way possible.
Does. And like, I've even had comments on like TikTok videos and that, you know, and it's even these little, you think like, fuck, you know, we're a pretty small podcast and, you know, one day we won't be.
Yeah, exactly.
But even those little things, it's like, I couldn't imagine the messages these boys are getting, you know, after a bad game.
Yeah.
And with everything I was saying about Tigers fans, I do not condone sending hateful messages whatsoever. I think that's you're a fucking weak dog for doing that if you do that.
Yeah, I agree.
But I think it's also fair to call a spade and say a player is playing shit if they're playing shit.
I agree. I think it shows that if you care about a team, you're also going to care when they're losing and why they're losing. And there's usually a reason for that. And I think it's okay to comment on the game for what it is. But I think it's when people take it too far and it becomes personal attacks, death threats. And
that's ridiculous.
I have one friend in particular who has been put through the ringer at times based on their team and their own performance. And it's shocking to see the type of messages that they can receive. And I think a lot of these players end up deleting socials or turning off comments.
Luke deleted socials for years.
And to get to that point is really quite sad to see, I think, because at the end of the day, they are also, it's not that deep, right?
Exactly. It's not that deep.
Yeah.
Yeah. 100%. Completely agree. And there's got to be more done about that.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Because, you can be the strongest motherfucker and be the most self-confident in yourself. But eventually those comments are going to start to take a toll.
It was like, even during the Women's World Cup, Ellie Carpenter received a bunch of hate for the loss that wasn't her fault, but she was a scapegoat in that moment. And it happens in every code.
It does. And there's this tall poppy syndrome in Australia. I've talked about it a bit on here. And I knew it was going to happen with the Tillies to some extent. It happens with everyone. Everyone that's successful, and then they have a downfall. Like I remember when Ronda Rousey lost. You're
a big UFC fan, aren't you?
I am, yeah.
Because I noticed that you had a Volkanovski shirt on in your last video.
Yes, yes. I fucking love Volkanovski.
Have you met him?
I haven't met him. I met Sean Strickland in Sydney.
That's cool.
Met Sean Strickland. That was fucking cool. I had the mullet then too, and he said, I was like, Sean, like when you're at it was in the presser, and he was like down on the side before they did like a face off.
Yeah.
And so everyone's running over, and I'm like, usually if I miss a moment, I'm like, okay, I've missed a moment. But I was like, no, this is my only chance to fucking get a photo with Sean Strickland. So I literally went, Sean! And he turned, I was like, can I please get a photo, man? And he's like, of course you can, fucking mullet, man. And he grabbed my mullet, and I was like, yeah.
That is crazy. Do you know, I have so much respect for people that would shout like that in that moment, because that's so many moments have passed me by where I'm like, yeah, I met this person, or
and it's like, what's the worst that can happen? At least you don't go out like second guessing yourself, like, fuck, I should have done that.
I know I rate that 100%.
Yeah, it was my only moment, and we got a cool photo. I'll show you it after.
Yeah, please.
After this, cool. But I am a big UFC guy. I was actually there when Ronda Rousey got head kicked by Holly Holm. I went down to Melbourne for it. That was my 18th birthday present. So I went down with my mum, who'd never really watched UFC. And then I remember after it, because Ronda got head kicked, and then Holly Holm punched a hammer fist in her head on the ground while she was already knocked out. But you have to do that to make sure of it. And well, in a championship fight, you get this dominant champion down, you're gonna fucking
make sure she's down.
Make sure she's fucking knocked out. But afterwards, I was like, so did you love it, Mum? My mum's like, yeah, I absolutely loved it. But I don't think they should be allowed to hit them when they've already been knocked out and fallen on the ground. I was like, well, the refs is there to stop that from happening pretty quickly. But sometimes they get a few in,
I mean, I personally cannot, I don't have the fighting spirit in me for something like that. But I can understand how when you're giving it your all, you've worked towards it for weeks on end. Yeah. You get to that point, you're going to make sure that that fighter stays down.
And especially when it's like someone like, Ronda Rousey was the queen of UFC. She was huge. She was on every late night talk show.
Ronda.
Everyone knew Ronda. So many UFC fans were born out of Ronda Rousey. Same as Conor McGregor. You know, Conor to a bigger extent. And
sorry, I had to do that.
But that moment was crazy. But it's funny because right before the Holly Holm fight, she was the biggest thing in the world, right? And everyone loved her. Everyone loved Ronda. And then when she got knocked out and she didn't touch gloves and things before a fight, everyone turned on her. Everyone. And it's like, what sort of pain would that you know, would she have felt?
The switch.
She actually talked about like contemplating suicide and that afterwards. And it probably was half from the loss, right? Because you've been built up as this world champ for so long and this unstoppable.
To lose a title is a big deal.
Especially it was her first ever loss as well, you know. But half of that would also be from the people who you thought had your back, who are now turned on you. And that's tall poppy syndrome. And we see it all the time. And it has such a negative effect. And I must say, in America, it happens to a much lesser extent than in Australia.
Yeah.
And America seems to support their heroes. They support their teams, especially their national teams. And they would not do that due to, you know, a loss. I don't know about the soccer team. I don't know how they've treated that.
We had a loss in the Asian Cup a week ago.
Yeah. And you saw like hateful comments.
Yeah, incredibly hateful. Players were blamed. Granted, it's a tournament where Australia should be in the final. We feel like they should be in the final. The reality is I think we underestimate the skill of the other sides every time this tournament comes around. But I can see where people were coming from. We completely capitulated in the 95th minute and lost a lead, and therefore we were out of the tournament because of that. But the hate comments are just terrible. Yeah. Absolutely terrible. And I think that's something that I don't understand the mentality of somebody who does that.
Yeah.
If something frustrates me, I'll talk about it, but I've never gone to social media to leave a hate comment and tell people that I think they should die because of a football game. It's just crazy to me.
I've definitely written statuses about the Tigers.
Yeah.
And how fucking pathetic they've been. But I'll very rarely blame one player.
Yeah. But sometimes there is a player at fault. Yeah. And it is and it's your choice whether or not you feel like you need to name the name. But I think it's just one of those things.
But I certainly wouldn't wish death upon.
No, but anyone. We do see that. But I think tall poppy syndrome is 100% a thing in Australia, and I don't think it's just in sport. I think it's in general. If you're doing too well, people will be there they think they're humbling you, but really it's just called tall poppy syndrome because it's okay for people to be doing well, performing at a high rate and doing well for themselves, making money without being brought down because they need a sense of reality or whatever.
Yeah. I think David Goggins said, you'll never find a hater who's doing better than you. And it's true. It's true because people who are doing good don't feel the need to bring others down.
So true.
You know, it's people who are doing shit who feel the need to bring people who are doing better than them down.
And it all comes down to purpose and all that. So we've had a full circle moment here.
We have. Yeah. We have. I did quickly want to talk about Baltimore Ravens. Now we talked a bit off air that you aren't it's just a bit hard to follow for you, right?
Yeah, like I appreciate it, and I'm sure if I lived in the States I would get around it because I love league and all of that. I am going to a Super Bowl event on Monday though.
So am I. What event are you going to?
C-Deck.
Oh, okay. I'm not doing that. Okay. I wish. I'm going to Hudson Hotel. Matty Johns and Cooper Johns are actually hosting it.
Oh, that's fun. So, I love Coops. Yeah. I love the whole family dynamic.
It's so cool. So I'm excited to meet them. And
that's super cool. You should try and get Cooper on your pod.
I would love to have, but I don't know now because I tried to get Pedro on from Kiss. Yeah. And apparently they're not allowed to do other media. But I think it's different with Cooper because he already had pods going.
I feel like it might be a little different with Cooper. I feel like he works more independently than that. Like he probably has a bit more pull. You should definitely ask him.
Yeah, I will.
But yeah, no. So like I don't hate on NFL or anything. Like I think it's mad.
You just don't. Yeah, you're not a follower. Yeah.
No. If I had to pick, it would be Patriots.
Yeah. Why is that?
I always go for New England or Boston teams in everything. Yeah. So I support Boston Celtic, Red Sox. Don't watch baseball, but if I had to pick a team, it's Red Sox. Yeah. The Bruins in the NHL. Like that's just my teams in everything.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. I'm a bit different with American sports. But NFL is really my go-to. Yeah. The reason I started going for Baltimore.
Yeah, please tell.
So have you seen the movie The Blind Side?
I love that film.
So Michael Orr was signed by the Baltimore Ravens.
Okay.
And I just thought, wow, I love this movie. I love this story. It's that's literally the American dream, right? That story.
For sure.
From nothing to something, I thought. And then, so I started supporting Baltimore Ravens after I saw that film in 2009, right? Yeah. And we won the Super Bowl. I remember distinctly watching the game. I think it was the championship game. before the Super Bowl. Or maybe it was the divisional round game. It was in that playoff series anyway, which we won the Super Bowl that year. But I remember watching it with my brother. We were away in Foster and we're like just chilling. It was a very, very hot day. So we're like, let's just chill in the aircon for a bit, put on the TV. NFL was on. I was like, sweet, Baltimore playing. And there was this Hail Mary thrown right at the end to win. And after that, I was like, I'm fucking sold. This is my fucking team. Like 100%, this is my team. And then I found a Michael Orr jersey at Paddy's Markets.
Oh, that's amazing.
And yeah, so
what's the chance of that?
I know. It was like, 74, Michael Orr, Baltimore Ravens, purple jersey. So I got that.
Unreal.
And then obviously Lamar Jackson now is 2-time MVP. Congratulations. He just
it's actually pretty crazy how like I don't follow, but the names are so familiar because they do such a good job of promoting their players. And I know with NFL, I've got friends who don't even have an NFL team. They've just got players and they follow them from team to team, similar with the NBA.
Yeah, like Brady with NFL or like LeBron. Or
they're like, no worries, I'll just go from this team to that team. Yeah. They love the player so much. I think that's interesting. That's an interesting concept.
Yeah, I would be very hurt if Lamar ever left Baltimore.
Yeah. But you wouldn't change your
I
team
probably wouldn't change. No, it's just not in me.
Yeah.
But I love Lamar Jackson so much. He's just, but anyway, but I'm still hurt. I'm hurt about the Super Bowl. I got the day off from work thinking Baltimore would be in. We should have been in. If Taylor Swift didn't exist, I think Baltimore would be there. I think it may be rigged. I think the Chiefs are there because they know more people are going to watch the Super Bowl because Taylor Swift's fucking there.
That's a really good conspiracy.
And probably true. Probably true. Yeah. But I would much prefer to think that that's not the case and the Ravens were just fucking very off because I wouldn't like to think it's rigged because it's like, well, what's the point of sport then?
That would be devastating. When it gets political like that, and by political I just mean where there's push and pull anywhere where money is involved.
Well, that's the problem now with sport is that there is.
I know.
With betting companies.
I know.
How much, if you go on Sportsbet right now and go Super Bowl and you go to all these Super Bowl fucking things, it's Taylor Swift. There's like fucking 12 markets open for about Taylor Swift.
Yeah. And as somebody who doesn't get the Taylor Swift hype, it's really doing my head in at the moment, if I'm honest. Like
I'm actually going to see her in concert.
Oh.
But I'm also a bit of a hater.
So, like, talk me through the decision to go to her concert.
Well, I thought at least there's one less crazy fucking Taylor Swift fan at her concert and there's me there instead.
Are you going to accept any friendship bracelets if people start handing them out to you? Because apparently that's
I'll accept them, but I won't fucking give them back.
I don't have any for you.
I'm just here to fucking drink beer and have a good time.
Oh, my God.
But no, I do think she's a fucking fantastic performer. 100%.
I think so too. Very talented.
She's very talented. I don't want to hate her too much because of what happened with the Chiefs, but I
mean, it's a justifiable reason to
it is.
Even just temporarily dislike her.
Shane Gillis was just on Rogan's podcast and talked about it. He's like, I don't actually care that Taylor Swift is like getting shown on the NFL. Except for when they're versing my team. Then I fucking hate it. I'm like, yes, 100%.
That's so fair.
I never really had a problem with it until the fucking Ravens game. And I was like, get that bitch off the screen.
Yeah, I feel you.
But yeah. We will finish the pod with I'd like to finish with giving advice to anyone who wants to do what you do or just follow their dreams in any way. What would be your advice to them?
Well, I kind of dabbled in saying it earlier, but the best advice I ever got was from Jules Breach, who's a football presenter in the UK. Look up her stuff if you don't know who she is. She's so talented. But I had a call with her and I said to her, this is what I want to do. This is where I see myself. I know I can do it. She said to me, just start. And I know it's so cliche, but it just took somebody in the industry who had a good reputation to tell me it's okay that you're not perfect. It's okay that you're not ticking every box right now that you feel you need to be ticking in order to be taken seriously. You just have to start and just put yourself out there. And so for me, that started with writing. I think I do get messages from people saying, how do I do it? And I always say, if you like to write, start writing. If you like TikTok, start creating content. If you like Instagram, start posting photos and telling people your thoughts on things. It doesn't mean you have to hire a studio and spend a heap of money. It just means you have to start showing people that you care and talking about it. And until you are creating content in that space, no one will know you exist. So that's how you do it. You just have to start. And for me, it started with a blog that no one read and a podcast that no one listened to.
I read your blog.
One. that one view on my blog. No, but it started like that because I didn't care how big the audience was. I was like, even if it's just myself reading it for a second time, it's fine. But it was an example of my work that I could send people and show them.
Exactly.
Don't concern yourself with how many eyes are on your work initially. Just back yourself.
Yeah.
Back yourself.
I love that. And I completely agree.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about this as well.
And I think you're doing all the right things as well. Like you have a vision for where you want to take it. And what's amazing is you are investing a little bit more than the average person. And I think that will hopefully project you even faster and further. But that's all it takes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for coming in and speaking free.
Thank you for having me.
And you're welcome back anytime. I'd love to.
Love it.
I'd love to get you back for maybe a end of season review of the footy season.
That's a great idea.
And remember, guys, speak free with MattyG.